Hi guys, so I figured now would be as good a time as any to start the sort of sub-series of Storytime that I mentioned a couple of days ago in whatever video it was. And this was just like the first one I had down on my list. It was just the first thing that came to mind. So yeah, back when I was at uni, this was in first year, and my college in Oxford was on the high street, and there was a footpath going through it that led from the high street to one of the streets, just below it, and it was a public footpath. Now the college obviously is not open to the public a lot of the time. Sometimes you're allowed in if you're just a visitor, but this footpath specifically was open to the public, and it would close at dusk or whatever it was. And there were big gates at the front that you could like lock up and unlock in the mornings. And obviously, like I said, our college not being public access, all of the buildings around it and all of the gates around it, actually into the college, were locked, and like you needed your university card or whatever to unlock and be able to get in. And then in first year, when this happened, my room was in one of the buildings that was directly next to this public footpath. So it was pretty much on the corner, as I remember it. It faced out onto the high street and also over this footpath. And so basically, any time I needed to leave college, instead of going through the main entrance, where I would, come out of my building, out of my room, cross over the public footpath, go into the main quads, and then just go out of the main entrance. What I could do instead was just leave the building, head straight onto the public footpath, and just go out onto the high street. So that's what I would normally do. And that's what I was fully expecting to do on this occasion. I don't remember exactly when this was. I know it was in the third term. So it would have been some point in the spring, I think. So just over 3 years ago now. And I was already running a little bit late for a class, which is, nothing out of the ordinary for me. Or certainly that normally happens after a while of getting into a routine. It was about a 15-minute walk away, the place I had to get to. And I think I was leaving with like slightly under 15 minutes left. So I was very conscious that I needed to get a move on. And, I was like packing my stuff up. I walked down the stairs, went out of the building, and I just immediately saw tons and tons of people on this path, like way more than I'd ever seen there at the same time. And I was really surprised. I had no idea what was going on. And it's not a particularly wide place. It's just about wide enough to get one car down, for like almost all of it anyway. So yeah, literally like 3 meters wide, maybe. I'm not really sure, but not big. But there were people lining like both sides of it, and I had no idea what was going on. I hadn't heard that there was any like event happening. I didn't know, if I'd still be able to get out. But I went to the gate that I normally went through to go out onto the path and then onto the high street, and it was like blocked, but only in the sense that like there were a load of people standing there. Like it didn't look like it was actually like you weren't allowed to go through, but it just looked like you couldn't get through. Like that's what I mean. And so I had no idea what was going on, but I couldn't get out, the way that I normally go. That was the important thing. And also I couldn't easily get out of the main entrance, because to get there I would have had to have gone through the same gate as I normally would. So what I had to do instead was go around the back of college. So the road that the footpath goes to from the high street, I had to go out onto that road. There was a separate back entrance through a different building out there. I had to go there and do a massive loop around that road to get back onto the high street, and that cost me an extra like 5 minutes or something. So by the time I was like actually setting off, I'd lost like at least 5 minutes, maybe 10, from where I should have been. So I had to run, and I did like make it. I didn't get to class like on time. I was several minutes late. But I at least I had an excuse, because as it transpires, the reason that there were so many people there was because King Charles was visiting. And of course, this was, like I said, 3 years ago, so he wasn't king back then. He was Prince Charles at the time. It was maybe about 6 months, I think, actually, before he became king. But yeah, he was still prince then. But yeah, he was just visiting. I didn't know this. I didn't know if like this had been announced before and I just had missed it or something, or whether he just like turned up on the spot. Obviously not like just turned up, because he had like there were loads of security there. And as I was going past on the high street, I think I mean I saw a Range Rover. I don't know if that was like what he was in or something, but that was like down the footpath. There were at least a couple of motorbikes as well, like police motorbikes, escorts or whatever, and there were also like two people on horses. I can't remember if they were police or not. They probably would have been, because I've seen mounted police in Oxford before. Don't really know why. I don't. don't think there's any particular need for them, but it's probably just like one of the quirks of the old city and all of that. But anyway, all this like police presence and guards and all of that, and like loads of people lining the footpath to like see what was going on and all that. And yeah, it just turns out that then Prince Charles was there on a visit and he was meeting people. Like he met the master of the college, I'm sure. I don't know how long they were there for. It was probably not super long, but presumably long enough to have crowds gather outside and talk to people and do whatever he was there for and all of that. So yeah, I like I said, I had no idea that was happening, but inadvertently, the then Prince Charles, now King Charles, made me late for a university class. Um, and I was so obviously at the time I was like I need to get to class, I can't be late, so I just need to rush. So otherwise, like I would have stayed and like watched the stuff going on. If I'd known it was happening, I would have got out there earlier. So it is a little bit annoying that I didn't get to do that. Yeah, I'd like to think I made the right choice by like at least trying to get to class on time. But yeah, that's quite a funny story. I've still obviously I've never met the king, but I maybe could have had a chance if I didn't have a class then. Yeah, that's just a funny story. This was, I guess, episode 1 of Storytime. Like I'm not going to make this a super like strict series or anything like that. I just mainly this is just an excuse to have more, funny titles for actually funny events this time, because I think to be fair, for the stuff I'll talk about in the like story times, they are actually like silly things that have happened, not just for the purpose of having a silly title. They are actually like quite funny and interesting stories. So yeah, I don't know how often I'll do these, but I've certainly got things to talk about. So yeah, I guess stay tuned for more. Shout out to the king. I love your work, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow.